In January 2025, we planned a family trip to Japan during my son's winter break. We booked Air Canada flights from Washington, D.C. to Haneda for $1,200 per person, with a transit in Toronto. We first departed from Reagan National Airport, which mainly serves domestic and short-distance flights. Since it's a relatively small airport, there was no longer a lounge available through Priority Pass, so we waited at the gate while having Dunkin' coffee. At Toronto Airport, we were able to access the Plaza Premium Lounge, where we had a light meal and relaxed before our next flight. There were no major issues with the Air Canada flight. It was a long 13-hour journey, and since I could use travel credit, I purchased in-flight Wi-Fi for around $35. Before entering Japan, make sure to register in advance on the Visit Japan website. You'll need to show the QR code at customs after completing immigration procedures. We bought ESIMs from a company called Romeisi.com, paying $13.50 total for 3 people. Since we were staying for about 12 days, 10 gigabytes or even 5 gigabytes was enough data for each person. We arrived at Haneda Airport on December 31st, and it was packed with foreign tourists. The immigration line for foreigners was incredibly long. After waiting in line, we had to scan our passports at a machine individually. Then we proceeded to the immigration counter, where both the passport and the QR code were scanned. After picking up our luggage, we went to customs, where we had to scan our passports and QR codes once again. We thought we could just walk out since we had already scanned them at the immigration area, but Japanese staff kept asking if we had done the scan. It turned out we had to do it again at this point. It was a bit confusing and felt like an unnecessary hassle. After leaving the airport, we headed straight to the taxi stand. Since it had been such a long flight, I had booked a place to stay near Haneda Airport through Airbnb. It was also late in the afternoon and we were quite tired, so we took a taxi directly to the accommodation. We took a taxi for about 6 minutes and arrived at the accommodation called Haneda Trios 527. The owner said he would leave the key in the mailbox and gave instructions on how to open it, but it was harder to open than expected. I finally managed to open it with the help of another guest. I think the owner's explanation wasn't very clear. The room cost $156 per night for 3 people. Although the room was very small, it had a kitchen, washing machine, and dryer, so it was convenient to use. There was a supermarket called Fuji Haneda just a 6-minute walk away, so we bought some food and ate at the accommodation. Among the things we tried, the udon was really delicious. My husband and son were surprised that udon from a supermarket could taste so good. The next morning, we grabbed a simple breakfast from a nearby Family Mart and walked about 6 minutes to Tankabashi Station. That day, we were heading to Edo City, Azu. Instead of purchasing a Suica card, we bought single tickets each time we traveled. Google Maps works really well in Japan and was very accurate. When we searched for directions from Tankabashi Station to Edo Station, it showed several route options, with some costing more than twice as much as others. So, we decided to take the Kikyo line to Yokohama Station first. Then, instead of taking the Odoriko Limited Express, we chose the Takeido line to Atami Station, which was much cheaper and only about 30 minutes slower. As the train got closer to Atami, we could see beautiful ocean views from the window. When we arrived at Atami Station, we were lucky to catch the Kinmi Densha, a special local train decorated with a Red Sea Bream, Kinmi, theme, for the last leg to Edo. It was charmingly decorated with a local Azu theme, giving it a cute and cozy feel. The seats were arranged to face the windows, allowing passengers to enjoy the scenic ocean views along the way. It was a delightful way to experience the coastal atmosphere of the region. We arrived at Edo Station. It was a small station, but thanks to the hot springs, there were still quite a few tourists around. In Ito, we stayed at Kei's House Ito Onsen, which was about a 9-minute walk from Ito Station. It was very affordable, around $370 for 3 nights for 3 people. It seemed to be a popular spot for international travelers. The building was a renovated traditional hot spring inn, and it had a charming, old-fashioned look. Check-in was at 3 p.m., so we left our luggage at the front desk. Since we had some time before check-in, we walked back toward the station area. On the way, we passed through a shopping street. Right in front of Ito Station, we stopped by Manju Misono and tried both onsen manju and aga manju. They had a nostalgic, traditional Japanese dessert flavor. About a 2-minute walk from the station, there's a coffee shop called Binya Coffee where we grabbed some drinks. It didn't feel particularly special, but it was nice to have a strong cup of coffee for a change. We took a slow stroll down Unohana-dori shopping street. Not all the shops were bustling, but the quiet and slightly old-fashioned vibe actually made it feel peaceful and charming. We returned to Kei's House Ito Onsen and checked in. There was a kitchen and dining area on the first floor that guests could use. There was also a large public bath where guests could enjoy the onsen for free. That was one of the main reasons we chose this place for our winter trip. Since there weren't many guests, it was never crowded. Our room was a Riverview Japanese-style suite, located between the 2nd and 3rd floors. The room was much bigger than expected. The Ryokan's facilities were old-fashioned, and the items weren't new, but everything was kept very clean. However, sleeping on futons on the floor for 3 nights was a bit uncomfortable and unfamiliar for us. We could also hear some noise from other guests. Still, the view from the room and the surrounding trees were very peaceful and lovely. After resting, we went to Hamasushi Ito Shizumi for dinner. Since it was January 1st, the place we originally wanted to visit was closed, so we went to this conveyor belt sushi chain right across the street instead. You take a numbered ticket and wait until a staff member calls your number. We were guided to our assigned table, and ordered using an iPad. The food was then delivered automatically on the conveyor belt. When finished, you take your table number to the front desk at the entrance to pay. This system was very convenient, clean, fast, and efficient. Hamasushi at the Ito Shizumi location had surprisingly fresh ingredients, making it a great value for the price. For a conveyor belt sushi restaurant, the quality of the ingredients was excellent. We also tried the ramen, which was very tasty. Since the Izu area is close to the sea, the freshness of the sushi definitely stood out. We walked back to our accommodation. Ito City was quiet and peaceful, offering a nice chance to enjoy the scenery of the Izu area. It was a perfect place to spend some relaxing time away from the crowds. Also, the Izu area in early January was pleasantly warm, with temperatures above freezing, making it a great destination for a winter trip. We ended our first day in Ito with a relaxing soak in the onsen at our accommodation. The next morning, we headed out for breakfast. Right next to our accommodation was the Tokeikan, an onsen museum. The building had a beautiful, traditional look that made it stand out. Walking toward Ito Station, we spotted a cute statue called the 7 Lucky Gods of Ito. On the way, there was a Fukaraku taiyaki shop, where I bought a roasted sweet potato. The sweet potatoes from the Izu region were rich and delicious. We went to have breakfast at Bakery Cafe and Restaurant Sazenka, a bakery located right in front of Ito Station. You can either order to go or dine in at the cafe area in the back. We didn't expect much at first, but this place ended up becoming one of our favorite spots. Every single bread we bought was so fresh, light, and delicious. It wasn't greasy at all, just simple, clean, and fresh in flavor. We ended up going back every day during our 3-day stay in Ito. Compared to famous bakeries in big cities, this small local bakery had a humble charm that made it unforgettable. Right next to the bakery was Max Value Ito Station, a supermarket chain found throughout the Izu area. We stopped by here often during our 3-day stay in Ito. Prices at supermarkets in the Izu region were surprisingly low. That day, we picked up lunch and dinner from Max Value and brought it back to our accommodation. Unohanadori shopping street started to get a bit livelier with both tourists and locals. Strolling along the street felt really pleasant and charming. We stopped by Ichikuwasicha Unohanadoritan for some tea. They also sell a wide variety of souvenirs, so it's a nice place to browse and look around. As we walked along Unohanadori shopping street, we noticed several places selling fresh wasabi. It seems to be a local specialty in the Izu area, and many people were buying it. We also stopped by Wakaba, a cafe in Ito City known for its homemade soft-serve ice cream. Compared to places like Hokkaido, it wasn't particularly special in terms of taste, but the retro vibe of the cafe itself was charming. The next morning, we had breakfast again at the bakery. For lunch that day, we had made a reservation at Matoi, an eel restaurant located right front of our accommodation. Since the restaurant is quite small, it's important to make a reservation in advance. The Anajunami, regular grilled eel rice box, was reasonably priced at around 3,100 yen. Since the restaurant has a small interior, it's expected that you eat and leave fairly quickly. The unagi itself wasn't particularly tender, but had a simple, clean flavor. It's a good place to try if you're nearby, but don't expect too much. Restaurants in Nagoya or more well-known specialty places may offer a better unagi experience. That day, we walked to Ito Marine Town, a popular spot for many tourists. It was about a 23-minute walk from our accommodation, which was quite manageable. Walking along the sea, we passed by restaurants that sold dried fish, adding to the local charm. Ito Marine Town seems to be a must-visit spot for almost all tourists coming to Izu. It always felt quite busy with many people around. The first floor is filled with various gift shops, and the second floor has several restaurants. There's also an outdoor eating area and a stage, giving the place a casual and lively atmosphere. The gift shop had a wide variety of Izu specialty products, like orange jelly, Izu local beer, pudding, kamaboko, and wagashi. I especially liked pudding, so I bought some to try. In Japan, pudding is generally delicious everywhere, so there wasn't anything particularly outstanding about it here. It was so crowded inside, so we came out and took a photo of the building from outside and then left. On the way back to our accommodation, we stopped by the Mega Don Quixote Ito store located across from the marine town. Since we planned to do our shopping later in Tokyo, just looked around that time. Since it was Japan's New Year holiday period in January, the Ito area was relatively quiet and peaceful. We wanted to get a haircut, but most salons were closed for the holidays, so we couldn't get it done. We returned to Kei's house Ito Onsen and sat on the first floor, enjoying a warm cup of tea while looking out at the peaceful scenery. It was such a quiet and relaxing moment. In the evening, we stopped by the supermarket to pick up some food and had dinner back at the accommodation. Afterward, we relaxed in the onsen. It was the perfect way to unwind. The next day, my husband decided to rest at the accommodation for the day as he had caught a cold from the long travel schedule. My son and I went back to the same bakery for breakfast. Once again, every pastry we tried was satisfying and delicious. We returned to Kei's Ito and asked the front desk for some cold medicine for my husband. After giving him food and the medicine, my son and I headed out to visit a place, as we had originally planned. As we went out for lunch, we took a walk along the river across from Kei's house Ito. The atmosphere of the old ryokans and the riverside blended beautifully. You can find hot spring water sources in various spots around Edo, adding to the charm of the area. For lunch, we went to a place called Seafood Restaurant and Onsen Guesthouse Haruhiromaru, taking 4 minutes by walk, located near the seaside. They served traditional Japanese set meals, and we really enjoyed the food. After lunch, we walked to the nearby bus stop, Matsuhara Bus Stop, just next to the restaurant. From there, we took the Tokai bus to Kamuroyama. The bus stop had a timetable posted, so we could easily check the schedule. When boarding the bus, you take a numbered ticket, and the fare corresponding to our number was displayed on a screen at the front of the bus. When getting off, you pay the fare in cash along with the ticket. It took about 35 minutes to get to Kamuroyama. When you get off at Kamuroyama Lift bus stop, you enter the shop to buy your lift ticket. The round-trip ticket costs about 1,000 yen. There are also souvenirs inside, so you can take a look around. You take the lift one by one. It goes up slowly, so it's not scary at all. When you arrive at the top of Kamuroyama, the view is wide open and the scenery is beautiful. The area isn't very large, but you can walk around the whole place. The nice weather made the experience even better. We went into Cafe 321 at Kamuroyama to have a drink. The view from the cafe was beautiful. The drinks we ordered were delicious. Many people were sitting on the outdoor deck, enjoying the sea view. The cafe has an outdoor deck with a protruding section where you can take great photos. The view and refreshing atmosphere were even better than expected, so we happily took the lift back down. We had some time before the bus arrived, so walked around Kamuroyama Park a bit. The park was peaceful, surrounded by nature, and well-maintained, which made for a pleasant and relaxing stroll. We took the bus back to Edo. Compared to the area around Edo Station, the outskirts of Edo felt more like local residential neighborhoods. It was nice to see supermarkets and restaurants that seemed to be frequented by the locals, giving us a glimpse into everyday life in the area. We returned to Kei's Edo and headed out for dinner at a sushi restaurant, but unfortunately, we were turned away because reservations were required. Following our son's suggestion, we picked up food from the supermarket again. By now, he seemed quite used to Japanese supermarket meals and even thought they were pretty good for the price. And just like that, we wrapped up our last night in Edo. The next day, we checked out and walked to Edo Station, where we bought our final breads from Bakery Cafe and Restaurant Suzenka. Then, we took a 25-minute train ride to Atami Station. Atami Station was larger than expected and much more crowded. I booked a rental car online ones-rent.com at Wanzurantaka Atami Ekimi, just a 2-minute walk from Atami Station. The cost for 2 days was about 13,800 yen. Later, I extended the rental by phone for an extra day and paid an additional 5,000 yen when returning the car. For more details on how to rent a car in the Aizu area, you can check my video titled Renting a Car in Japan, Aizu Area on my channel. I asked the staff to load our luggage into the car, then we went for a short walk around the shopping street near Atami Station. Atami's Nakamai Shotengai and Hiwadori Shotengai were bustling with travelers. The arcade was large and very lively. There were lots of treats to enjoy like yakisenbi, wagashi, Maguroya tuna snacks, restaurants, and various desserts. The Oden at Maruten is very popular, so there's usually a long line. You can also spot the onsen manju from Izumiya. The senbei and cream puffs looked delicious too. Since we had already eaten breakfast, we just browsed. We also saw some seafood restaurants, and Atomy Pudding Cafe second was especially popular. There was a long line, as it's well known for its Atomy pudding. I wanted to try the pudding, but the line was too long, so gave up. Instead, I bought an Ichigo Daifuku at Ichigo Bon Bon Berry Atomy House. The line wasn't too long there. I drove the rental car and headed to our accommodation in Yugashima. Before that, I looked for a place to have lunch and ended up at a local restaurant called Toki, about a 6-minute drive south of Atomy. You can park at a nearby Times lot right across from the restaurant. It's inexpensive. The place was a very small, family-run spot operated by an elderly couple. It's a truly local, neighborhood diner tucked away in a residential area. I wanted my child to experience a place like this. They served dishes like hirkatsu, pork cutlet, a beef fry, fried shrimp, and oyakodon, chicken and egg rice bowl, all for under 1,000 yen, unbelievably affordable. The portions were very generous, and the taste was good for the price. It was true Japanese local diner food. After lunch, we got back in the car and drove to our accommodation in Yugashima. It took about an hour, but since the route went over the mountains, there were more winding roads than expected. Near Yugashima, we stopped at a cafe for a short break. We stopped by a cafe called Chaki Chaki. It had a parking lot, so we could park easily. The entrance was also quite unique. You could sit outside by the river, so the view was great. They also burned wood, which made the air smell nice. We sat at a table inside. The cafe had such a nice atmosphere that I took a lot of photos. We ordered a matcha parfait and a set menu with matcha and wagashi. The taste was great, and the cozy atmosphere made it a cafe that lifted our spirits. From Chaki Chaki, it's about a 6-minute drive to Tatsuda Ryokan Zoo, the hot spring inn where we stayed for 2 nights. The area around was very rural, with rivers and trees, making it a quiet place. We paid $457 for 2 nights for 3 people through Booking.com, including breakfast. After checking in, we were shown to our room. The room was spacious and clean. We relaxed while enjoying the Ichigo Daifuku with green tea we bought in Atomy. From the terrace, we could see a lot of nature, and the air was very fresh. One reason I chose this onsen was because it offers many private rental baths. There are about 5 different baths, and we could check their availability through an app. If no one is using a bath, the whole family can use it. We went outside and tried one first. There was a very cute open-air bath that seemed perfect for one person at a time. The water was quite hot. Sitting quietly in the tub while looking at the bamboo made it feel like time had stopped. It was a peaceful, wonderful moment. My son preferred this outdoor bath since the water was a bit more lukewarm and comfortable. Another one was an outdoor bath that looked like a beautifully designed little garden, peaceful and charming. The water was nice and hot, so this one was my favorite. I was so excited about the onsen that I went to several different ones, changing clothes over and over in the open air, and I ended up catching a cold. Since we didn't purchase dinner at the Ryokan, we drove about 3 minutes to a local restaurant nearby called Raizu. They had a unique appetizer, crispy fried chicken skin, that stood out. We also ordered their signature dish, a crab porridge-style meal, which was simple yet very tasty, just what we needed on a cold and tiring evening. The restaurant had a very local feel, and it seemed like only regulars and locals came here. That cozy, authentic atmosphere made the experience even better. After dinner, we stopped by a 7-Eleven just 2 minutes away by car to pick up some snacks and drinks, then headed back to the Ryokan. The convenience store snacks were all delicious. Having a car in Yugashima was very convenient. Since it's a rural area, driving was really the only way to get around. There was also a supermarket just 9 minutes away, where we picked up some simple snacks like fruit. The next morning, I visited another open-air hot spring. It was located up high, offering a great view of the river below. You could feel the cool winter breeze, and the sound of the river flowing below was refreshingly clear. Another unique feature of this ryokan is having breakfast outside by the riverside. When you go down to eat in the morning, the tables are already set up like this. In winter, they keep the area warm with a heater under the kotatsu, so it's cozy and not cold. Since it was the New Year holiday season, they served traditional Japanese New Year dishes. Mixing dried wasabi powder into rice was also unique and interesting. It seemed they used a lot of local ingredients. The food wasn't top class, but it had a very rustic, countryside feel. The portions were so large that we couldn't finish everything. Above all, having breakfast while looking at the river like this was a completely new experience. After breakfast, we visited Joran Falls, which is about a 5-minute drive away. There is a parking lot, so it's convenient. The path to Joran Falls goes through nature, so walking down felt really refreshing. The waterfall was bigger than we expected and very impressive. After seeing the waterfall, we also saw nearby wasabi fields and some shops selling wasabi products. It was fascinating to see wasabi growing right in front of us. Near the parking lot, there was wasabi ice cream, so we were curious and tried it. It was just soft serve with a slight wasabi flavor. After seeing Joran Falls, this day was planned for visiting Aizu Panorama Park. On the way, taking 12 minutes, we went to Morishima Rice Shop to buy ohagi. Ohagi is my favorite Japanese mochi. Unfortunately, it was closed due to the New Year holiday, so we couldn't buy any. I really wanted to find a good ohagi shop, but I had to wait for next time. If you drive 17 minutes north from Morishima Rice Shop, you'll arrive at Aizu Panorama Park. On the way, there's a breathtaking moment when Mountain Fuji suddenly comes into view right in front of you. The park has convenient parking. From there, you take a ropeway up to the summit viewing area. If you buy the ropeway ticket online in advance, it costs 3,000 yen per person. If you buy it on the same day, it's 3,500 yen. The ropeway ride takes about 7 minutes and goes higher than you might expect. Riding it is actually part of the fun experience. At the top, you can enjoy a stunning view of Mountain Fuji. I had checked the weather forecast the day before, and luckily, the mountain was clearly visible that day. There's also a designated photo spot where you can take amazing pictures like this. They've set it up so people can line up and take turns capturing the view. There are also cafes and foot bath areas where you can relax and take your time enjoying the view. The good weather made the place feel even more pleasant. After spending some time there, we took the ropeway back down. You can buy souvenirs on the first floor. We drove 25 minutes south back to the ryokan to rest. For dinner, we decided to drive 20 minutes north to a place called Jikusu Yakinikuku Ichiban. It's a popular yakiniku buffet chain where you can enjoy an all-you-can-eat meal for around 3,000 yen. It was quite busy, so we entered our name into the waitlist and waited a while before being seated. You can also join the waitlist online in advance. It's the kind of typical yakiniku buffet restaurant you go to when you want to eat as much grilled meat as you like. We ate a lot and left feeling very full. On the second morning at the ryokan, we went down for breakfast again. The menu had slightly changed from the previous day. We appreciated how thoughtfully the meal was prepared. This time, we were too full to finish everything. In the morning, I called the rental car company to extend for one more day. Then we headed to our final destination in Aizu Hotel Resort and Spa. It took about an hour of driving through local roads again. After descending the mountains for a while, we drove along a coastal road and then up a very steep incline to reach the resort. It was surprising to see a resort built so high up. We arrived at the resort and parked the car. Since we had requested early check-in, we were able to check in at 1:15 p.m. The weather was cloudy that day, so we couldn't see the full ocean view, but the scenery from the lobby was still stunning. I gave my son several options for choosing an onsen, and this resort was the one he picked. I booked a deluxe terrace triple room in the West Wing through ikyu.com. The total cost for 3 people for one night, including early check-in and access to the private onsen bath, Kashikiri Daoyukuju, was 137,000 yen with breakfast and dinner included. We also upgraded the dinner menu to include premium seasonal ingredients for an additional 5,000 yen per person, which added 15,000 yen at checkout. This plan allowed us to check in early and enjoy a private onsen bath for 1 hour before the regular time. The staff were very friendly. Since we could use the private onsen bath starting at 1:15 p.m., they first guided us to a resort room on the first floor. We took a short break there before heading to the bath. A staff member came back to escort us to the private onsen bath. The space was very clean and well maintained. It was set up like a private spa that the family could use exclusively, so we were very satisfied with the facilities. Inside, there was a large communal bath visible. There was an open-air bath outside like this. It was very spacious with a great view. We spent quite a long time in the bath enjoying the scenery. After finishing the open-air bath, we called the staff. They came with our bags and personally escorted us to the room. The room was spacious with excellent facilities. The wooden interior was stylish and clean. The view from the room was also great. The room had a private open-air bath, making it a luxurious facility. Guests also have free access to the resort lounge, where they can enjoy a variety of light snacks and desserts. Everything we tried was delicious. The interior design connecting the resort and its restaurant was clean and well put together, creating a pleasant atmosphere. We went to enjoy the much-anticipated dinner. We had chosen the kaiseki option where the chef presents each dish in front of us. The plum aperitif was delicious, and the appetizers were decorated in a festive New Year's style, which was very cute. Each dish was quite good overall. A beautifully presented sashimi platter featuring esayabi, spiny lobster, was served. Grilled kinmadai, golden-eye snapper, a specialty of the Izu region, was also served, but it was drier than expected. The tempura was freshly fried and served right in front of us. However, the tempura wasn't particularly outstanding or exceptionally made. They served donabe takikomi gohan topped with fish, and since the portion was quite large, they kindly made the leftovers into rice balls and brought them to our room later. It felt very thoughtful and considerate. It wasn't the taste of a chef from a famous restaurant in Tokyo or a big city, but the care and kindness were clearly felt. The final dessert was very delicious, and among them, we were surprised by an orange called Beni Madonna. Later, we looked for this orange at the supermarket, and although it was a bit expensive, we bought and enjoyed it. We slept comfortably at the accommodation and woke up early the next morning. The sunrise was really beautiful. In the morning, I soaked in the open-air bath in the room while watching the sunrise. The view from there was truly wonderful. On the way to another restaurant for breakfast, I took some photos of the resort's facilities. The views from here were also beautiful. We arrived at the breakfast restaurant, which has an area where you can step outside. The breakfast was served with great care and attention. More than the food, the kindness of the staff made us feel really good. We checked out from our last accommodation in a zoo. The view from the lobby was so beautiful that I took some photos. I drove about 1 hour and 20 minutes to Atami and returned the rental car. Then, we took the Takeido line from Atami Station to Shimbashi Station in Tokyo. The main reason we chose to visit Japan in winter was to enjoy the onsen. While I considered going to places like Hakone or other hot spring towns closer to Tokyo, I decided on the Izu region instead. I wanted to avoid overly touristy areas and experience a place more frequented by locals. Izu is just over 2 hours from Tokyo and likely relies on visitors from the city. It's an old volcanic area, so there are many hot springs, and being by the sea, there's also a lot of fresh seafood. During our 3-night stay in Edo, we enjoyed the quiet and relaxed pace, almost as if we were living there. Renting a car allowed us to visit more remote places like Yugashima, where we stayed at a traditional ryokan for 2 nights. Though the travel was a bit tiring, the unique experience of a countryside ryokan was memorable. We spent our final night at Izu Hotel Resort and Spa, a more modern resort chosen by my son. The food was average, but the view and facilities were beautiful. Looking back, moving between 3 accommodations made our schedule feel a bit packed. I actually caught a cold at the ryokan, possibly from not managing my body temperature properly after the onsen. I had to ask the front desk for cold medicine. Still, since Izu is not a place we can visit often, we pushed ourselves a bit, but it was worth it. There were so many places to see, eat, and explore. The coastal climate was mild even in winter, and prices were quite affordable, making the trip enjoyable. Moving forward, I hope to keep exploring smaller cities and towns in Japan. Even if they're rougher around the edges or unfamiliar, they offer a truly local feel and leave lasting impressions through unique experiences.